Hey everybody, Will here back again with the weather. And today's video is going to be about the significant severe weather threat that will be ongoing for the next few days. After that, we'll take a look at later next week where it looks like another severe weather event is possible. First things first, we'll be taking a look at today's severe weather outlook. We currently have a slight risk in place for much of central Texas into Mississippi. Within that, we have a corridor of higher probabilities, this enhanced risk from eastern Texas through much of north central Louisiana into western Mississippi. The main threat right now is damaging winds and tornadoes, with hail being the lesser threat. So taking a look at the tornado threat, we have a slight risk in place all the way from eastern Texas to the middle of Mississippi, but right in the middle we have this corridor of higher probabilities where tornadoes are more likely. Some of those cities in that area are Monroe, Alexandria, Vicksburg, and Clinton, Mississippi. If you're in these areas, tornadoes are a bit more of a higher possibility. However, if you're in these brown and green areas, also don't let your guard down because a tornado is possible. It's just not as likely. Taking a look at the wind threat, we have this corridor of higher probabilities once again all the way from Dallas to Jackson, Mississippi, and you can see that hatch risk within that. And in that area, wind gusts in excess of 75 miles an hour are possible. So damaging winds are pretty likely in spots tonight. As for the hail threat, there is a slight risk for a pretty large area from Texas into northwestern Louisiana and southwest Arkansas. There is this hatched area right here in central Texas, Fort Worth, Abilene, Wichita Falls, and San Angelo. You guys are all in that. These areas could see hail in excess of golf ball size, and the rest of the area should just see large hail, but nothing too significant. Now we'll switch over to tomorrow's outlook. This is for Tuesday. We currently have an enhanced risk in place from southern Mississippi all the way into South Carolina. There is, once again, a pretty significant tornado threat. We have the 10% risk all the way across from Mississippi through southern Alabama and through southern Georgia. Montgomery, Alabama, Columbus, Georgia, Savannah, Georgia, Macon, Albany, Georgia. You guys are all under that 10% risk. And tomorrow there's a hatch risk, meaning there could be strong and long track tornadoes in this area. Savannah, Georgia, Albany, Georgia, Statesboro, Georgia, you guys could all see a strong tornado possibly. The risk isn't extremely high, but you definitely have to keep an eye out tomorrow afternoon. There's a pretty significant wind threat as well. There isn't a hatch risk, but there is a 30% risk all the way from Mississippi to South Carolina. Damaging winds are pretty likely in these areas. As for the hail threat, it's much lower, but there is this corridor of higher probabilities all the way from Montgomery, Alabama into Macon, Georgia. There could be a couple large hail reports. After that, taking a look at Wednesday, we have another enhanced risk in place, all the way from northern Alabama up into parts of northern Georgia and southern Tennessee. This is a bit farther out, so the exact threats aren't known for sure yet. Damaging winds look to be the biggest threat. However, the Storm Prediction Center is also noting that there is the potential for tornadoes. Cities in this higher risk are Atlanta, Birmingham, Chattanooga, Sandy Springs, Georgia, and Tuscaloosa, Alabama. If you're in these areas, be sure to keep an eye on the sky on Wednesday afternoon into the evening hours. We'll know more about this when it gets a little bit closer. Now we'll switch over and take a look at the simulated radar. And this is for this afternoon into the evening. This is for 3 p.m. today. And you can see showers and thunderstorms are already starting to develop in parts of central Oklahoma and northern Texas. And as we go into the evening hours, these are going to grow into more of a line. And as we go into 9 and 10 p.m., you can see we got this line starting to form. Dallas, you should start getting impacted anywhere between 10 and midnight, and this is going to quickly push off to the east as we go into the overnight hours. Damaging winds are going to be the biggest threat. However, tornadoes are not out of the question. As we go into the midnight hours into the early morning, this is pushing into southern Arkansas and central Louisiana. Right in this area right here is going to be the highest tornado threat as well as the high wind threat. And this is going to be happening overnight, so be sure to have a way to receive warnings if you live in these areas. As we push into the daylight hours, this starts to move into Mississippi. And remember, we have that enhanced risk in place right in this area. So now we'll switch over to the southeast for a better look at this. By 8 a.m. Monday, this is impacting Jackson, Mississippi, and it's moving south and east. By the time we get into noon, it's already in southern Alabama, and it's moving into parts of Georgia as well. Damaging winds and tornadoes are the biggest threat in these areas. As we go into the afternoon hours, it starts to re-strengthen a little bit as it moves into Georgia. And then as we move into the evening, it starts to weaken. And then this sets up the severe weather risk for Wednesday. As we go into the early morning hours into the afternoon, storms start to fire across parts of northern Alabama into parts of Georgia. And you can see right here, these cells are what we're going to have to watch for tornadoes and damaging wind potential. And these are going to grow and push off to the east as time progresses. Unfortunately, this is as far out as this model goes. But this is 7 p.m. Wednesday. So the Wednesday threat is going to be later in the afternoon and into the evening hours. So as usual, to sum this up, this afternoon into the evening, parts of Oklahoma and Texas. Overnight into eastern Texas and parts of northern Louisiana and southern Arkansas. As we go into the morning and mid-morning hours, it's going to be in parts of southern Louisiana as well as much of Mississippi. And as we go later into the afternoon and evening, this is going to push off into southern Alabama and parts of Georgia. And the last thing I want to look at is the severe weather threat for next week. So as we go into early next week, this is for Saturday, and now we're moving into Sunday, into Monday and Tuesday. You can see right here there's a battle zone. We got a trough right here and we got a ridge right here. And what happens is the winds come veering around this thing, and you got warm moist air coming up from the Gulf. So you got a lot of instability in place right in here. And you got that favorable wind shear coming around that trough, which will support severe weather. And if we switch over and take a look at our instability, you can see we have this corridor of 1 to 2,000 joules per kilogram of instability, which is more than enough for severe weather. And as we move into Thursday and Friday, you can see it starts to push off to the east, but it looks like we might have another severe weather threat next week. But first things first, we'll get this event out of the way. Like I said, tonight, Texas, Oklahoma into Louisiana, early morning hours, eastern Louisiana into Mississippi. By the time we go into Tuesday afternoon, it's starting to move into parts of Alabama and Georgia. And then by Wednesday, we have another severe weather threat across parts of northern Alabama, northern Georgia, and southern Tennessee. Anyways, that wraps up today's video. If you're in these areas, be sure to have a way to receive warnings, especially tonight across parts of Mississippi, Louisiana, and eastern Texas. These things are going to be moving through in the middle of the night, and you need to have a way to receive warnings just in case a tornado warning is issued for your area. But anyways, that's all I got today. Thank you so much for watching. Be sure to like, share, and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video. Have a great day and stay safe.